Hi, employee alignment is critical. When employees are not aligned with the organization's goals and strategies, the right work does not get done, or it does not get done right. What many managers fail to realize is that if employees are not aligned with the organization's purpose, values, and vision, or have failed to establish their own intrinsic purposes for their daily work, they're very unlikely to be aligned with your goals, your strategies, and your processes. When employees feel connected to the purpose and vision of the organization, they then have a clear understanding of how important the products and services you provide are to the customers and the community. They also see a clear connection between what they do and the success of your organization. In fulfilling that purpose, as a result, aligned employees see their work as meaningful. They look forward to coming to work, and they have a sense of pride in what they do and the organization that they work for. When there's a high level of trust throughout the organization, expectations are clear, disagreements are aired and resolved, and individual performance is discussed and agreed upon without having to rely on a lot of formal processes. Information is exchanged freely as needed, and feelings and opinions are openly discussed, and people don't keep those hidden agendas. Differences are valued, and employees feel respected for their contribution because they have input into how the organization can be more successful. And people keep their commitments. They strive for excellence in everything they do, and they can be counted on to support each other. This is a place where people want to work, a workplace based on trust and personal responsibility. In this module, you learn about the results of your strategic alignment survey. In it, you answered questions about your group trust level, your group alignment, how well you act out the 8 values that build trust, and the kinds of people in your workplace. What you discover in these key 4 areas has an impact on employee alignment and engagement, and provides a starting place to focus our attention on making improvements. Thank you. So, what's your group trust level? How'd you like to be that guy standing there with all those pencils going? So this is the degree to which everyone perceives each element of trust, how they perceive that it's present in the environment. So I'm going to go over what those elements of trust are. 2 of them are reliability and openness, and these are associated with those 8 values that build trust. So when you think of reliability, that's when we're seeking excellence and we're keeping commitments. When you think of openness, that's where you are willing to disclose how you feel, be vulnerable about what you're thinking and feeling, and you're open to receive what other people have to say, whether it's advice, opinions, their feelings, or what have you. Acceptance is that sense of I delight in who you are. I respect who you are in your own unique way. I recognize your value. I accept it. I not only accept it, I think it's good. So I give you recognition. I give you appreciation. I look for the positive intention. I look for the good in you. And congruence means just that I'm in alignment. Remember when I talked about when you're in alignment, your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, everything line up. That's where you're saying what you mean and meaning what you say. You're not holding anything back. You're saying this is what I expect, this is what I want, and being honest about, you're not holding anything back, you're not making anything up, you're not exaggerating anything. Okay? I want to briefly mention the 8 values that build trust. These are 8 behaviors that must be practiced regularly by each team member for high trust to be present, which is an absolutely essential ingredient for great teamwork. The reason I have a piggy bank on here is to remind each person that every time you neglect to live by any of these values, you make an emotional withdrawal, which weakens your team. What's equally true is that every time you choose to operate by these values, you're making emotional deposits, strengthening your relationships, and also strengthening your team. Here's where you guys came out on these. The blue is how important these things are to you guys, okay? The green is how well you think you're performing them as a group. So this to this is this gap. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is the gap that is experienced internationally. So your trust gap is bigger right now than internationally. Now, I want you to know you guys can turn that around. That is not impossible to do. And that's what I want you guys to envision in 6 months. That when we take this again, you don't have this gap. You don't even have as big of a gap as they have. But what it's going to require is that you really make a commitment to learn how to do these things. And your trust gap, it's the difference between the measure of the importance and how well it's being fulfilled. And that's just, the goal is to make this one of your performance targets, to get this down. It'd be like you having a bad cholesterol reading and you want to get that cholesterol down. And we're going to be doing all kinds of things to make that happen. There was this big correlation that it was so strong that 1/8 of a point of increasing trust on that scale would increase the hotel's profitability by 2.5% of the revenues, which in this study was $250,000 a year per hotel. Now, if that doesn't convince you that trust is important, see, so that's what you can imagine. If you guys get good at building trust and reducing that gap and increasing the level of, everybody being able to get along and collaborate and have each other's back, that's going to translate into revenue. It's going to translate into more things happening, more dollars. So alignment is, again, it's about these 6 things. Why we exist. How do we have to be and behave to achieve why we exist, what we want to cause? What are the visions as a leadership team? This is primarily your role. Everybody's going to have their own individual vision statements when they do their blueprint, but as far as guiding the organization, you guys are the ones that are going to be able to say, how will we express this purpose? Again, so approval. Now sometimes people have clarity. Let's say you guys get really great at clarifying the values, the purpose, the vision, and there are people in even this group that say, I'm not wild about this particular vision. You want to know that, because then you want to either adjust it or get them on board or find a way for them to participate in a way that they want to. Here were your numbers on harmful gossip, appreciation, and can we count on support. So you can see that harmful gossip within this group is really something you guys want to keep on top of. And then appreciation and contribution to each other. So then the last thing we did were the kinds of people. And then these were the actively disengaged, disengaged, and fully engaged. And what they found is that a decrease of 5% of actively disengaged employees equals 26.3% improvement in profits. So where you guys are actively disengaged, if you can shift that to engaged, fully engaged, that is going to hugely impact profits. And not only do you want to do it for yourselves, but you want to do it throughout your whole organization. Now, one of the things that I want to speak to about this is actively disengaged is not usually something we realize we're doing. Like one of the things I'm going to show you here in a minute is a slide where everybody's asked, what do you rank yourself? And only one person ranked themselves disengaged, not actively disengaged, just disengaged. And everyone else ranked themselves fully engaged. So and yet the numbers for the whole group are very different from that. So one of the things you want to see is that this is a little bit of where the jolt comes in, that we get a reality check. Like I might think I'm the right weight and the right cholesterol until I go to my doctor and I get the jolt of, oh, I'm 30 pounds overweight and I need to lower my cholesterol. So that's kind of what this is about, is to see where you're perceived to be. Now, if you're perceived to be actively disengaged, that does not mean people think you're evil. It could, but it doesn't usually mean that. It just means you're unaware, you're doing something that's destructive that you aren't aware that you're doing, and if you would stop that, it would really make it better. That's all that means. And that's actually something we can choose to tighten around, or we can choose to expand and open into with curiosity. You have just reviewed considerable feedback about key conditions related to the health of your team alignment. Reflect upon the findings that you just learned about, because they form the basis for our next steps together. As you think about the benchmarks that we established today, hold firmly in your mind what improvement looks like. Help you and those around you to determine what's going on so that together you can fulfill a plan to improve things. What is measured not only gets done, it also gets focused on and improved. We will periodically reissue the Strategic Alignment Survey so that you can assess improvement in areas that and where to focus next. You've taken a critical step by providing honest input into your feelings about trust, alignment, and engagement. Now it's time to get busy with your next steps.